All right, thank you guys. We are once again currently 3-1 in our last four Better Friends tier package plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. And that's a website that I operate that gives you daily premium sports picks beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. Now we'll go ahead and talk about that in just a little bit, but before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a look at some Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. All lines and odds taken from the Fox Bet Sportsbook. We're going to go ahead and start with Ivan Panda taking on Andre Babkin, 5:30 p.m. Eastern start time. Babkin's really struggled as of late, dropping 7 out of his last 8. Andre was also shut out in 3 out of his last 7 as well, with blowout losses coming to the likes of Kuzmin and Shears during that stretch. Meanwhile, Panda on the other side has had some fairly consistent success over Babkin as of late, going 3-1 straight up in their last 4 head-to-head matchups. Looks like Ivan has his number. I'm going to go ahead and lean Ivan Panda, winning that one outright for some moneyline cash. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Wednesday's Russian Liga table tennis action, Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. Hopefully you're having a good week thus far. Now before we go ahead and move on with the program, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where once again we are 3-1 in our last 4 Better Friends tier package plays on that website. We're also 19-10 in our last 29 crowd pleaser teasers as well. Very good package for us right now. We do daily premium sports picks on that website beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We also have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. Currently, we have well over 650 members signed up and active on that page. Now, you might be wondering, why would all those folks sign up to receive Patreon picks from me, where they can get them here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great thought, a great concern. But there is a major problem with me handicapping every single game that's on the board, both side and side and total. And the problem is this: if you were to bet every single game on the board that I put out here on YouTube, side and total, you are, damn near guaranteeing yourself failure. And if you're going to bet every single game that's on the slate with your hard-earned money, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's downright a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. They have a whole lot more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that kind of action. And most important, hear me out on this one. This is the most important part. The math becomes aggressively against you the more and more games you play like that. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game that is on the slate, side and total. And the good news is this: if you want to go ahead and check out my current Patreon record, you can actually do that for free right now. It's located right on the homepage. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. And once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. I'll also include a link in the comments section below as well. All right, without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Vlad Rokoff taking on Vad Krokin, 5:30 p.m. start time. Krokin's the $1.10 underdog. Rokoff is minus 150. Rokoff's won 2 out of his last 4 and has beaten Vannon and Krokin during those victories. Rokoff's also shut out his opponent in 2 out of his last 3 victories. Krokin, on the other side, is ice cold right now, loser of his last 6 straight. He's also just 1-7 straight up in his last 8 as well, and was shut out in 3 of those losses. I got to fade Krokin in this spot here. Give me Vlad Rokoff minus 150, getting the job done for some money line cash. All right, next contest, it is going to be Andre Babkin squaring off against Sergey Kuzmin, 6 p.m. Eastern start time. Kuzmin is playing at a very high level right now, 4-match win streak for him with 2 shutout victories during that stretch. Kuzmin's also won 6 out of his last 8, with marquee wins over the likes of Shears, Panda, and Babkin during that span of victories. And speaking of Babkin, he's playing some terrible table tennis right now, dropping 7 out of his last 8 matches. Andre was blown out 3-0 in 3 separate matches during that stretch as well. Can't lean toward Babkin in this spot here. Give me Sergey Kuzmin winning this one straight up. All right, next battle. It is going to be Vitaly Vasilevsky facing off against Haik Lulikian, 6 o'clock start time. Haik's lost 5 out of his last 6, including embarrassing losses to Nikiforov, Vasilevsky, and Yanishev during that stretch. He's taking on a Vasilevsky opponent who's right in the middle of a 3-match win streak with solid shutout wins over Nikiforov and Lulikian during that span of victories. Vitaly's also 5-1 straight up in his last 6 as well. Looks like a pretty good spot for Vasilevsky backers here. Give me Vitaly Vasilevsky winning this one outright in convincing fashion. All right, next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Vad Krokin taking on Andrei Ovechnikov, 6 p.m. start time. Ovechnikov is currently in the middle of a 3-match win streak with victories against the likes of Vladimirovich, Petroff, and Krokin during that stretch. He's also been pretty dominant over Krokin as of late, going 3-0 straight up in their last 3 head-to-head meetings, including a 3-0 shutout during that span. Now, Krokin on the other side, we're talking about just a little bit different story here, as he's currently in the middle of a 6-match losing streak. Even more disparaging, Krokin was shut out in 3 out of those 6 losses. Looks like a terrible spot for those backing Vad here. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Andrei Ovechnikov, winning this one outright in a blowout. All right, next contest. It is going to be Oleg Nikiforov squaring off against Arti Arudinin, 6:30 p.m. start time. Arti's minus 125 in this matchup here. Oleg's the $1.10 underdog. And speaking of Oleg, he's been shut out in 2 out of his last 3 defeats, both coming at the hands of Andrei Vasilevsky. Vitaly Vasilevsky. But anyway, his other loss during that span came at the hands of, you guessed it, Arti Arudinin, 3-2. And speaking of Arti, he's been playing at a very high level as of late, 6-2 straight up in his last 8, including victories against Lulikian, Yanishev, and Vasilevsky during that stretch. Looks like a pretty good spot for Arudinin backers. Not a bad price point here either. Pretty good. Give me Arti Arudinin winning this one straight up in a close one. Next contest, it is going to be Vlad Petroff taking on Vladimir Rokoff, 6:30 p.m. Eastern start. Rokoff is the $1.20 underdog. Petroff's minus 165 on the money line himself. Petroff has won 5 out of his last 7, with blowout victories against Krokin and Vannin during that stretch. He's also garnered himself a couple hard-fought victories against the likes of Petroff and Vladimir Rokoff during that span as well. And speaking of Rokoff, he's dropped 2 out of his last 3, including a shutout loss to Ovechnikov during those defeats. Rokoff has also been victorious in just 3 out of his last 8 matches. Not an appetizing spot for Rokoff backers, in my opinion here. Give me Vlad Petroff winning that one straight up in a competitive matchup. All right, we're going to slide into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Shears taking on Ivan Panda, 6:30 p.m. start time. Pander's lost 3 out of his last 4, including 2 shutout losses during that stretch. Panda was shut out by Babkin and Kuzmin during that span of defeats. Pander's also been victorious in just 3 out of his last 8, including 2 separate 3-1 defeats at the hands of Shears. And speaking of Shears, he's been playing at a pretty high level as of late, winning 6 out of his last 8 matches. Even more impressive, Vass scored himself 3 shutout victories during that span of wins. Once again, Vass is 2-0 in his last 2 meetings with Panda. Got to give the clear and concise edge to Shears in this spot here. Give me Shears winning that one straight up in convincing fashion. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shoutouts. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 3-1 in our last 4. 3-1 in our last 4 Better Friends tier package plays. Sorry, drawing a blank there. Anyway, shout out to Yara Sakrishna, Blaine Lyons, Luis Lopez, Jeff Walker. Shout out to Bob Backlund, Leo Kolesnik, Andy Raphael, Jimmy Gold. Shout out to Black Rogue, Serban Sergu, Hustle Wilson, Barton Wood. And we got to give a shout out to Mr. B, James Hammond, and last but certainly not least, my great friend, Mark Baldwin. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy Hump Day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.